Hi, and welcome back to Kitchen Table Talks. Now, as this unconventional school year wraps up, parents everywhere are continuing to navigate this unexpected burst of homeschooling. The year is not over quite yet. So I'm here with Lynn Haggerty from Parent Network, and we're going to talk about communicating with your child's teacher and why that is such an important piece of homeschooling success. So Lynn, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Liz. It's great to be here. It's wonderful to be part of the Kitchen Table Talks.
Thank you. So first and foremost, what are some universal struggles when it comes to homeschooling?
Well, there are many struggles. There are also many joys connected with homeschooling kids, and I think parents are realizing both. Some of the pluses with homeschooling kids, I think a lot of parents have realized that it's really great to be a bigger part of their child's education. They've realized how their kids learn. Each child is different. So if there's more than one child at home, you're finding some pretty unique ways to connect with each one of your kids. That's a plus. Some of the struggles, of course, are what a lot of families have talked about. The connecting virtually can be difficult. Some families don't have access to the internet, and most schools are trying to provide that access, but as we all know, it doesn't always work, and there can be a lot of glitches along the way. Some of the platforms are not the easiest to use. The Google Classrooms are wonderful, but if it's difficult to get on, then it can end up being a struggle. So that connection is really important, but there are definitely struggles attached with that.
And then not to mention kids with special learning needs. So do you have any suggestions for parents on how to navigate that piece of it?
Kids with special learning needs, once again, it really does come down to the fact that each child is unique. So even if you have a child with no disability in general education, I think every parent is learning that that child is still very unique, has their own way of learning. When you have a child with a special need that may have an IEP, an individualized education program, or a 504 plan, there are supports in those plans that are there to help those kids learn in the best way for them. And it's really important to know what's in that IEP or that 504 plan. Those accommodations, those supports that are put into those plans can really make a difference. So the supports that were designed to help these kids at school can also very often be a great support for kids at home. So parents should take a good look at those documents, look at the accommodations, see which ones work at home as well as at school. For example, there may be an accommodation in a plan that says extra time or repeating directions. Those kinds of accommodations can definitely be used both at home and at school. And if a parent needs help with that, let's hope that a teacher can help put those things in place at home for the kids.
Absolutely. So important to remember.
Right.
And then, of course, one of the biggest struggles out there, I would think, is communication between the schools and the families. So there really seem to be two different camps out there: the parents that have gotten little to no communication from schools, and then parents that are possibly overwhelmed with information, and both seem hard.
I totally agree. And we've heard from both of those camps. Some parents are struggling because they have not heard enough from the teachers or the school. That has its own set of challenges. We always encourage parents to make sure that teachers and schools have their basic contact information. Sometimes that can be the tripping point. So, communicating with school to make sure that everyone has that contact information. And then also, don't feel funny about reaching out and making sure that they're communicating with you in the best way for you. So if email is best for you, let school know that, let the teacher know that. If a phone call is better for you, also let the teacher know that. Maybe it's another platform that works best for you. Then there's also the challenge of a teacher or a classroom that's communicating too much, and that can be stressful in its own way. It can leave you feeling overwhelmed, almost as if you're not doing enough for your child, despite everything that you're trying to do. So both have their own challenges. One makes you feel a little bit isolated when you're not hearing enough from a teacher. The other one can make you feel like everything you're doing is just not enough. So there's stresses on both ends. Hopefully there can be a happy medium and communication works for both sides.
Right. And then so just breaking it down a little bit further, because I think it's so valuable and so important for parents to hear. So the parents that are not getting a lot of communication from the child's teacher, if you could just reiterate a few basic steps or things that they could action and do.
I think the best thing to do is to reach out yourself as a parent to the teacher, and always frame it in a positive way. Reminding the teacher that you're here, you're ready and willing to help your child, and you just need that communication. Keep it positive. I always encourage parents that if they are getting ready to send an email to a teacher, to craft the email, draft it, leave it for a little bit, come back to it, reread it, and then send. Because it's amazing the things that you think of, when you go around the second time and take a look at something before you send. So don't hesitate to reach out as a parent. Sometimes you find out things that are going on behind the scenes that you didn't realize. Maybe there was a glitch in the communication or the contact information. Mm-hmm. Then again, if you're still not getting the response that you need for your child, don't hesitate to go to the principal at the school and reach out that way, or to someone else on the child's team. If you are the parent of a special needs student, you probably have more than one person that you're communicating with. So you might want to reach out to one of the therapists if there's something specific in that regard that you really need to address. So don't hesitate to use everybody on the team, whether it's the teacher, one of the therapists, or even the principal.
And then on the opposite side, so the parents that are receiving an abundance of information and maybe are feeling like they can't keep up or they're not going to get it done, a couple steps or actions that they could take.
I think in that respect, it's really important to once again communicate and say, hey, listen, and once again in a positive, respectful way, let the teacher know that you're doing the best you can on your end. I think everybody should understand that parents are really not the teachers. They are there to support their kids in their learning at this point, but they are not the teachers. Most of us don't have that education degree. And so it's not as if you are taking over for the teacher. You're there to support as best you can. And then you have to realize that some things you have to let go. If it becomes too overwhelming, it is not worth stressing yourself out or your child out, because children will pick up on that stress. You want to just keep it positive, keep those lines of communication open, and don't hesitate to tell a teacher if it's too much communication. Say, you know what, for us here at our house, what works best for us is one email from you each day, or what time of day works best for you when you're ready to receive that information and then use it. There's lots of ways to keep those lines of communication open, but keep it working for you in the best way for you.
And so great advice, obviously, for both sides of the coin here. And so for all parents that are coming to the end of the school year and are maybe feeling some anxiety about summer vacation, or feeling the pressure that they still have to keep learning over summer vacation or something like that, what would you say to those parents?
I think I would say to those parents that are now looking at the start of summer, just a couple of weeks away, to remind them, yeah, learning doesn't ever really stop. Even in a traditional summer, learning doesn't really stop. It just looks different. It hopefully looks a little more fun, a little more loose. It's a great time for parents and kids to take a breath, especially this year, to really reflect on some of the good things that have come out of this whole pandemic. Look at ways that they can have some fun, do some educational stuff, but make it look more fun as the summer goes along. Maybe, get out there and take a look at a park and throw some science in there when the kids aren't even noticing that you're doing it. Or just getting that physical activity that everybody is craving at this point with the good weather and some extra time on our hands. And just take a breath and pat yourself on the back and realize that a lot of good work has happened in the last few months, despite some of the stress that has gone along with it. Parents should be able to really congratulate themselves and their kids and, applaud the really great things that have happened and the learning that has happened.
So important to remember. And I think sometimes parents just need that permission to do that,
Yeah, a little flexibility. That's what I think a lot of families are looking forward to going forward.
Absolutely. And so in terms of the tools that are out there for parents and families, I know at Epic, there is the parent support line that people can call. There's the online parenting support group that is starting via Zoom. There is Epic Academy that has educational content for kids in pre-K through 8th grade. So those are some of the tools that are in place for families. What are some things that Parent Network has to offer as well that families can utilize?
Yeah, Parent Network has some really great things going on also. We have links to Epic's information and resources on our page. We have a special page, just a resource page that's really dedicated to the COVID crisis. So it has all kinds of tips about learning from home. It has all of the CDC guidelines. It has school-related guidelines that have come down, especially for families with special needs. There's a lot of state ed, special ed information on there. But the most important thing I think that Parent Network has is these online sessions and chats. There's at least one every day of the week. There are some support groups that are still meeting virtually, just like Epic has, and I think they've been really helpful. We have a Buffalo chat that goes on each week. We have a chat for families who speak Spanish. And then we have some specific topics that we try to address, a lot of them revolving around behaviors. Well, lots of good stuff. Everything's on our calendar.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Lynn. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for sharing all of that and for being here today.
Thanks, Liz. It's been great.
And so for everybody watching, we'll have a full link to all of Epic's resources as well as Parent Network's resources on our Parenting on Pause page of our website, epicforchildren.org. We'll see you next time.